Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. I hope you're all doing well today. Ngayon, I will give way sa mga request ng marami sa inyo to read the most memorable love note stories that I featured years ago on my radio program. Ako nga pala si Joe Domingo. It's Throwback Tuesday for Love Notes dito lang sa Dear Joe TV. A relationship that has been separated by distance but never by fate. A chance at love that may never come again. Paano mo nga ba sasabihin na mahal mo ang isang taong may mahal ng iba? And how do you deal with the thought of losing that person forever? Hello and welcome to another episode of Love Notes. Dear Joe, I never thought I would ever be coming to you for advice. In fact, it has been nearly 10 years since I last heard your program over the radio. When I would drive home from school with my carpool mates, stuck in traffic, we would have our own commentary and always agree on your balanced advice. That was such a long time ago. Ngayon, based na ako sa New York and working for a large investment firm. Joe, I'm writing to tell you about Mark from way back in college. He was a senior in charge of taking care of my freshman block. Marami namang gwapong mga seniors, but there was something about him that made him differently attractive. I remember my first kilig encounter when I shook his hand for the first time and he smiled at me. Once lang nangyari yon and we would just occasionally bump into each other at the campus. But since hindi naman kami magkaibigan, nag-hello lang kami sa isa't isa. The next time I met Mark was around 8 years later. I was on vacation sa Philippines from graduate school. Nag-uunahan kami sa parking space sa Greenbelt. We both rolled our windows down at galit na galit kami pareho. Pero bago pa kami nagkasigawan, we realized that we knew each other. I was pretty surprised he remembered me from the first day we met. He smiled at me, Joe, and just like the first time I met him, all my anger faded away and I felt like I was back in time again when I first met him in college. Siyempre, I ended up with a parking space and we exchanged numbers. He called me the next day to go for coffee. You know, part of me was hoping he'd end up boring me or hindi siya sisipot. Or maybe he would have this annoying habit na would turn me off. Ayokong umasa because I don't want to go back to New York with only memories of him to hang on to. Unfortunately, he did show up and he was the most wonderful gentleman I've ever met. Joe, I was totally captivated by him. I have been out with other guys before who thought that social stature or graduate degrees would be the reason enough for them to be a good partner. Anybody else would be too intimidated by my education or by my family. But with Mark, I saw a guy who sincerely took interest on how I made my decisions. A man who took pride in setting aside career to take care of his siblings. In him, I saw a man of integrity. After that dinner, hindi na ulit kami nagkita kasi I had to go back to New York for the second half of summer. And back here in New York, I continued dating other guys. But for some reason, no matter how good or smart the man would be, parang may kulang. Maybe at the back of my mind, I was trying to compare them with Mark. A year after, I heard from a friend that Mark is in a serious relationship with someone. I told myself, ang swerte naman ng girl na yon. But I felt no pain since I was probably insulated by the distance between us. So I was fine here until he called me a week ago. It was a friendly call, just an update on what's happening with him and me. Sabi niya may girlfriend na raw siya. Siyempre ako naman, I had to say I was single, but dating. Biniro pa nga niya ako, sabi niya the right guy was lost in the New York subway and I have to go find him. It was an easy conversation, but the more he talked about his family and plans, the more I realized how unique he was. Joe, that cold winter night, I felt myself emotionally defrosting and I could almost feel his warmth surround me. It's so incredible how one man can do this. Nalungkot ako, Joe, dahil feel ko bumalik na naman yung lahat ng feelings ko para sa kanya. Mark called kasi his girlfriend received a grant to study at the City College here in New York. She has already decided to come, and he is thinking of following and to study too. He was asking for advice as to where he can find a school or what he would need to prepare for it. Siyempre, I promised na tutulungan ko siya. After that phone call, I was totally confused. Joe, I certainly want to help him, if only for the respect I have for such a good man. When his girlfriend comes, I'm quite sure I would be willing to help her as well, for I know how lonely it is to be in a new place with no friends. Sabi ko sa sarili ko, even if she turns out to be the most impossible person, I would still help her, since doing so would be helping Mark as well. There are two things, Joe, I need your advice on. I'm obviously still very attracted to Mark. Sa kanya ko lang na-imagine na kaya kong i-give up lahat, my career and everything that I have worked for all my life, because I know that he is a man worth sacrificing for. Joe, paano ko siya tutulungan na hindi ako masasaktan? Secondly, I'm a person with no illusions. I'm happy for Mark and his girlfriend. I'm also going out with this guy who is brilliant, decent, and a real gentleman. But the problem is, I do not feel anything for him. At lalong hindi nakatulong nung marinig ko yung boses ni Mark at nagkausap ulit kami. Joe, in my mind, I know what to do. Pero paano ko ba tuturuan ang puso ko to accept that Mark belongs to someone else na, and I have to walk away and move on with my life? I trust your judgment and will appreciate any advice you can give. Take care always, Bea. Bea, I know you're in a tough situation. You want to help Mark and still be able to say you're okay kahit deep inside, you know you'll never be. Because now you have someone to compare all the other guys you would date and would go out with. And you would find it more difficult to find someone who could touch your heart the way Mark did. A man's educational achievement or yung status niya sa buhay is not what makes him ideal. Having a doctorate degree or driving an expensive car or even having a lot of money doesn't automatically make a man an ideal husband. A man's conviction, yung values niya, his respect and love for others, and his outlook in life are far more important than anything else he would have learned from school. These are what makes Mark different from the others. Now, can you really help him without getting hurt? I'm afraid not. Sabi nga nila, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You may be able to get something you want, but if it's not really meant for you, then you would only be able to hold it for a fleeting moment, and it would be gone sooner than you wanted to keep it. Bea, I have been witness to many relationships that could have blossomed kung meron lang sanang isang naglakas ng loob and had the courage to take the initiative to express what they truly feel inside. Yung encounter mo with Mark when you were in Manila, it could have bore fruit had any of you been a little bit more expressive of your feelings. During that time, I sense you have been holding out as much as Mark was keeping to himself. Bea, I know you can be happy for Mark now that he has found someone to love. But you obviously cannot be completely happy for yourself, knowing that you missed out an opportunity to be with someone you really like, someone who made a world of difference in your life, and someone who probably made you feel, even for a passing moment, what it is truly be like to be in love. Bea, women have their own ways of getting their messages through. But if I were in your place, I would find a way to decently let him know what I feel inside. You owe it to yourself. Don't be a prisoner of this helpless feeling. Once you have made your true feelings known to him, I'm sure he will slowly reveal his feelings too and make you see where you really stand. From there, take your next step. If you are just a friend to him, then it means you have to walk away and stop wishfully thinking about what could have been. I know it's hard to turn a page kapag alam mong he's never going to be in the next. But you have to. Dahil kung hindi mo tatanggapin that he belongs to someone else now, lalo ka lang masasaktan. On the other hand, if he reveals na may feelings din siya para sa'yo, then pray earnestly for wisdom, that you may be able to discern God's perfect will for your life, and that if you are really meant to be, God will make a way for it to happen. Bea, you may feel helplessly alone in this struggle, but remember, God doesn't turn away from our pain. God knows every tear that falls from your eyes. He is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. God allows pain to make us stronger. He allows us to fall so that we would remain humble. And He makes us wait so that we would learn to be patient. He makes us wonder so we would learn to trust Him. But in all our trials, He would never fail to leave a promise of hope and a promise of love. Bea, I sincerely pray that God will send someone who will ache for your soul and feel the longings of your heart. Let us always remember that not every person who walks into our lives are meant to stay. Sometimes, God doesn't give us the people we want. He gives us the people we need, so that through them, He can mold us to become the person He intends us to be, and through them, He can prepare us for the life we are meant to share with the one He has truly destined for us. Thank you, Bea, for sharing this beautiful story with us. At hanggang sa susunod na linggo pong muli, ako si Joe Domingo. See you again next time, dito lang sa Dear Joe TV.